Good morning, all of App Nation. I want to thank you guys for joining us this morning. This past weekend, we had a rare split of the team. I took a few ladies and gentlemen to Albuquerque, New Mexico for a really good tune-up meet with some national qualifying teams, and the rest of the team went to South Carolina. At South Carolina, we had a great performances out of a lot of the distance guys and ladies. A lot of great performance from the jumpers from in their new facility. And then out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, the few ladies and gentlemen who went out there performed really well and rose their stock on the national stage and in the conference to greater heights than normal. We had good performances out of Deshaun Ballard, Nevaeh Haddock, Ethan Barber, and those guys. So we're getting really, really close to the Sun Belt Championships within 2 weeks. So going into this weekend, we got a middle of the week meet at JDL, and a lot of those guys are going to take this weekend off to prepare for the Sun Belt Championships. And a lot of those who are really close are going to compete to see if they can hone in on their skills and their times and see if we can better those before we go into the Sun Belt Championships as well. We've been taking any questions there.
So you mentioned New Mexico. You took a group of athletes there where the national championships also are being held this year and a lot of top competition in the country. Just talk about how that helps the athletes in general going against some of the best in the nation.
Basically, it was a great experience, and that's that small group we took. That was one of the things we sat down and talked about. Is just enjoy the experience that you don't normally get here on the East Coast most of the time. But the expectations we sat down and laid out at dinner before going into the day before, the day after, was good. Great feedback from the athletes, and then they knew from the heat sheets and stuff like that who were they to compete against. Alabama, Texas Tech, Kentucky was there, UC Santa Barbara, UCLA, and those guys took their old performances and made them better. And so it's one of those self-motivational things, as when you see better competition is when you rise as an individual to make yourself better as well too. So we had a great time. We talked about things afterwards on Saturday night before we headed back, and those guys are getting geared up for the next 2 weeks to be even better. So yeah.
And you mentioned Deshaun Ballard earlier, but school record this weekend. Sun Belt track athlete of the week, last week. Talk about the growth you've seen from him so far this season.
Wow, he's even from the first day in the fall, he's stood up as a leader on the team. He's told me what his expectations were going into this indoor-outdoor season in the fall, and what he wanted to accomplish going into maybe the Sun Belt Outdoor Championships and maybe qualifying for the Olympic trials. And so he's taken things, from a 5 to a 10 because his expectations have gotten bigger. So his growth as an individual has helped the team and the experience. He's been here for 3 years, and so everybody's building off of him. And so you got to have kids like that to help everybody else as well. But he knows he's got to do his part in order for everybody else to do theirs, and then as a whole, the team will get better. But he did a really good job this weekend. Very proud of him. It was only his second 200 meter of the season in the short indoor season that we normally have. It's just 7 weeks to the championships. But with 2 weeks left, I think these next couple of days, I'm gonna give him some rest because we got back last night, and then the programming I have for him to set up for the next 14 days before we start conference will be a little bit more rest. A little intensity before going into the championships. So he's going to be fine. I think the athletes will be too. But he's excited. I would if it would broken a school record this early in the season. I think things are going to get better for him too.
Okay, and you mentioned 2 weeks until Sun Belt Championships down in Birmingham. Does the preparation now change any differently than it would have earlier in the season, leading into the championships?
Good question. So yes, it would for some people. Not everybody is on the same training regimen, but the majority of the kids will start to see a lot more higher intensity training and a lot more rest. There's a couple of kids that need to to better hone in on their skills and their times and stuff like that. So they'll probably stay on the same training regimen. But those leading into the conference will we'll see probably a little bit more rest than normal, just so their bodies can be prepared and ready for the next 10 to 14 days. Yeah.